In my first life, I chose Mark Caldwell to be my husband. He was one of the orphans my father, the mayor, had sponsored, and he seemed like a decent and proper man. I only said yes because he knelt before me, begging. He told me his widowed mother was in poor health, and if I didn't marry him, I would be sent to the countryside for re-education and wouldn't be able to care for her. He had saved me from human traffickers once, a debt I felt I needed to repay. Fine, I had thought. Let this be my payment. After we were married, he was good to me. He was romantic, sweet, and gentle, and I truly believed I had made the right choice. But then one day, seemingly out of nowhere, he brought another woman home. Together they sliced the tendons in my hands and feet, locking me away in a pitch-black basement where I never saw a trace of light. If you hadn't insisted on marrying me and sending Diane to the countryside, he had said, his voice cold and unfamiliar, she wouldn't have been defiled by those men. You're a snake who abuses her power, and you and your family will pay for it with blood. My father, a man respected by everyone, was reported for lewd and corrupt behavior. The disgrace was too much for him to bear, and he and my mother ended their lives by jumping into a river. But Mark wasn't finished. He personally tore our child, already fully formed, from my body with his own hands. Diane's body is frail, he told me, his face a mask of indifference. She needs a baby and a car to nourish herself. This is what you owe her. Then, he threw my half-dead body into a pigsty, leaving me for pigs that hadn't been fed in 3 days. They tore me apart, leaving nothing behind but a pile of white bones and the memory of my faint cries. Now, reborn, I decided I would marry a wild, domineering military man. To deal with a monster like Mark, I needed someone even more unhinged. The moment I opened my eyes, I knew I had come back. My first sight was Mark Caldwell storming toward me, his face twisted with rage. "Clara Evans, how can you be so vicious?" I was still in shock, barely able to process my return to this moment, when Diane Vance came running up behind him, crying. "Mark, please don't yell at Clara. Maybe she didn't really steal my spot in the arts troupe, and maybe it wasn't her who made Mayor Evans abuse his power to send me away to the countryside." Diane Vance. I hadn't realized in my past life just how manipulative she was. With just a few tearful words, she had placed all the blame squarely on me. Mark's anger only intensified. "Clara Evans, you can't take your anger out on Diane just because you want to marry me. I can't believe how filthy your mind and your actions are. Is this how you repay the community and the people who raised you?" Seeing the two of them together made me so disgusted, I nearly vomited. "Stop playing the victim," I snapped, my voice sharp. "You didn't get into the arts troupe because you weren't good enough. You were sent to the countryside because your ideology needed re-education. What's wrong with that? Going there to be taught by the poor and lower-class farmers is an opportunity. Your reluctance to go just proves your mindset is problematic." I turned to leave, wanting to put as much distance between us as possible, but Mark suddenly shoved me hard against the wall. "Where do you think you're going? Feeling guilty now, are you? I don't care. Apologize to Diane right now, or I will never forgive you for the rest of my life." Suddenly, Diane dropped to her knees with a dramatic thud. "Mark, please don't do this. It will only make Clara hate me more." She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. "Clara, I'm begging you. Please have mercy and let me into the arts troupe. This has been my dream since I was a little girl. If I miss this chance, I'll never have a future." As she spoke, she knocked her forehead against the ground twice, hard. "Please," she sobbed, "this is all I've ever wanted." Mark's eyes were burning with fury. He looked like he wanted to tear me apart. "Clara Evans," he shouted, "I want you and your father to hold a public meeting, apologize to Diane, and give her back the spot in the arts troupe that you stole. If you don't, I swear I will never marry you." I almost laughed at the absurdity of it all. "Mark Caldwell, are you really that full of yourself? Take a look in the mirror. Whoever said I wanted to marry you?" Mark sneered. "Keep acting. Go on. Didn't you tell your own father you wouldn't marry anyone but me? Dream on, sweetheart." Without a moment's hesitation, I kicked him squarely in the crotch. Then I turned and walked away without a backward glance. "You still think I'm that gullible little pushover from before? Forget it. Don't come looking for me in this life. If you do, I'll make sure you regret ever being born. When I returned to the warm, familiar home I knew so well, my parents were in the living room discussing potential husbands for me. Two senior officials, both old family friends, were there offering their advice. One thing we can guarantee, one of them said, is that these 12 young men are all outstanding. We didn't save and scrimp our whole lives for nothing. Clara, my mother said with a warm smile, come and take a look. See if there's anyone you like. Your dad, our old friends, and I will all help you with the arrangements. Seeing my gentle, loving parents again, alive and well, brought tears to my eyes, but I held them back. I couldn't let them worry. I buried my grief deep in my chest and threw myself into their arms, forcing down the bitterness that surged in my throat. Then I said clearly, I want to marry Leo Maxwell. The once lively room instantly fell into an awkward silence. The elders all frowned and turned to look at me in confusion. Are you sure about that? One of them asked. You do realize Leo Maxwell is the most notorious troublemaker from the military compound, right? Right after high school, your father had to send him to a remote military unit just to toughen him up. I had heard Mark Caldwell talk about him before, spinning tales of how Leo had dated more than 5 or 6 girls and beaten them all half to death. In my last life, I had looked down on Leo, believing he was nothing but a reckless thug, and I avoided him at all costs. But that same supposed delinquent was the one who had dug my rotting body out of that pigsty, sobbing so hard it shattered the silence of the world. He had spent all his savings trying to clear my father's name, burying my family with dignity. And in the end, he had dragged Mark into a burning building and died with him, taking revenge for me. Now Mark seemed determined to have me back. But if I could pull Leo to my side, maybe, just maybe, my entire family would survive this time. So I said it again, without a trace of hesitation. If it's not him, I don't want anyone. I'd rather stay single for the rest of my life and dedicate myself to the nation's artistic development. You silly child, my mother chuckled. You can still serve your country, even if you get married. What about Mark? My father added gently. Haven't you two always been close? He's a decent young man. We've always admired his character. A sharp, twisting pain shot through my heart, and my eyes instantly welled with tears. It was precisely because we had trusted him so deeply, appreciated him so much, that he had been able to destroy our entire family, drive us to our deaths, and leave us buried in injustice. Why are you crying, sweetheart? My mother's voice turned anxious. Oh, my poor baby, what's wrong? They saw that something was deeply wrong and immediately backed off. All right, we won't pressure you, my father said, his voice softening. We respect your choice. But if Leo ever does anything to hurt you, we won't let him off the hook. The next evening, after dinner, I went to the new house my parents had prepared for me as a wedding gift. I wanted to tidy it up as a surprise for Leo. It was a beautiful and rare standalone villa with a courtyard, and I loved it the moment I saw it. In my previous life, I never got to live there because Mark had insisted on staying at his place to take care of his widowed mother, so I had moved in with them instead. But the moment I arrived, I was stunned. The front gates were wide open, and lights were blazing from inside. From a distance, I could hear Diane Vance's sugary, flirtatious laughter. A sour feeling rose in my chest. Why was she here? What shocked me even more was what I saw when I looked into the living room. Dozens of color photographs of Mark and Diane were plastered shamelessly all over the dowry furniture my parents had prepared for me, bright and bold, front and center. I didn't even need to guess. Those were taken with my imported camera, the one I treasured so much that I rarely even touched it. They had probably used up my only roll of film. At that moment, the two of them were all over each other, cuddling like they were glued together. Mark looked smug. From now on, this is our home, he told her. Once we're married, you won't have to suffer in the countryside anymore. I've already pulled some strings with someone in the arts troupe. You'll be in soon. Diane clung to him, biting her lip in that fake sweet way of hers. Mark, you're too good to me, she cooed. Then she wrapped her arms around his neck and kissed the corner of his mouth. I have nothing else to repay you with, so I'll give you all of me. The two of them tangled together on the couch, all passion and no shame. I kicked the half-closed door open with one foot. They scrambled apart instantly, fumbling with their buttons in a panic. Mark's face fell. What are you doing here? Were you following me? I let out a cold laugh. Following you? You think you're that important? This is my house. I don't need your permission to be here. Mark curled his lips into a sneer. Why so hostile? Weren't you the one who was begging to marry me before? Here's the deal, he added smugly. Sign this house over to me and maybe I'll consider marrying you, but first I'm marrying Diane. That way she won't have to go suffer in the countryside. As for the arts troupe spot, you can either give it up willingly or I'll have someone kick you out. Your call. His words made my blood boil. My forehead was practically steaming. How could I have ever chosen this piece of trash as a husband in my past life? I had given him everything, without defense, without doubt. You disgusting pigs, I shouted, grabbing a handful of their photographs and hurling them toward the door. Get out, both of you, get your filthy selves out of my house. Don't throw them, Diane shrieked. She suddenly rushed over, grabbed my hand, and then deliberately shoved herself backward, falling hard onto the floor. Ow, that really hurt. Clara, how could you be so cruel to me? She whimpered, sitting on the ground and fake crying. You vicious woman, Clara Evans. I've spoiled you too much. Mark roared as he snatched a photo frame from my hand and smashed it down toward my head. I raised my arm just in time to shield myself. The glass shattered and shards drove deep into my forearm. Blood gushed out in thick streams. Mark froze for a second, as if stunned by what he had done. He reached out, almost as if he was trying to help me, but Diane let out a piercing scream. Oh, my foot! I think it's broken. It hurts so much. What if I can never dance again? She wailed. Mark, help me, please. The flicker of guilt in Mark's eyes vanished in an instant. He shoved me hard, knocking me to the ground. Clara, if you think I'll ever let you step into the Caldwell family, dream on. Unless you kneel and knock your head on the floor 100 times for Diane, it's never going to happen. And if anything happens to her leg, I'll break yours myself. With that, he scooped Diane into his arms and stormed out. As they left, Diane shot me a triumphant smirk and mouthed the words, He's mine. You lost, bitch. I had told myself countless times that it no longer mattered, that Mark had already been erased from my heart. But in that moment, the pain in my chest ripped through me like a blade. I felt like I was being torn apart from the inside out. I didn't understand. What had I done wrong? We had known each other, loved each other for over 20 years. He had sworn that he would only ever love me. He used to be so thoughtful, so gentle, so upright. We used to be so happy, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I collapsed on the floor and broke into uncontrollable sobs. Footsteps, urgent and quick, came pounding closer. A military coat draped softly over my shoulders. I looked up, dazed. Under the dim yellow porch light stood a tall, ruggedly handsome man. He was dusty and windblown, but his eyes were full of concern. His face was both familiar and unfamiliar. I blinked, my voice choked with tears. Leo? Leo Maxwell? Why are you here? His brows were deeply furrowed, his eyes dark and stormy. I heard you chose me, he said, his voice a low rumble. So I jumped the wall and ran out of the base. He glanced around at the mess in the living room. He did all this, and he had the nerve to take photos with another woman too? Leo's face darkened with fury. That bastard. He promised me he'd treat you right. Son of a bitch. I swear I'm going to kill him tonight. I rushed to stop him. As much as I wanted revenge on Mark, Leo was a soldier. Getting into a fight could ruin his career, and no matter how selfish I felt, I couldn't let someone else pay the price for my past mistakes. But Leo misunderstood. He thought I was still trying to protect Mark. He clenched his jaw and swallowed hard. Don't be sad because of him. He's not worth a single one of your tears. He crouched down and took out a clean handkerchief, gently wiping the tears from my cheeks. When he saw the deep cuts on my arm, he sucked in a sharp breath. Mark Caldwell, that spineless bastard. I swear I'll skin him alive. His focus shifted. Don't move, he said softly. I'll clean the glass out first. If it hurts, just bite my hand. He was so careful, so gentle, as if I were the most precious thing in the world. Afterward, he took me to the clinic, bought the best ointments, and wrote down every single care instruction in a small notebook. Then he walked me home, not leaving my side for a single moment. I heard him mumbling under his breath, "You really like him that much? What does he even have over me? I'm way better looking." Despite all the pain and heartbreak I'd been drowning in, his words caught me off guard, and I let out a laugh, bright and unexpected. It was true. I hadn't seen him in so long, and somehow he'd become even more handsome, more rugged, more magnetic than any movie star. I suddenly felt shy just looking at him, and the thought that I would be marrying him in just a short while made my face burn. "Do you want to come in for a bit?" I asked. The air between us felt heavy, charged with something I couldn't name. My whole body was trembling with nerves. But his voice suddenly dropped, becoming dull with a kind of aching sadness. "Mark said you've hated me since we were kids," he said quietly. "He said you only chose me this time to get back at him." He paused, then continued in a soft voice. "But I don't care. Even if this is a fake marriage, even if we get married and then get divorced right after, I'll go along with whatever you want, Clara. I just want you to know, as long as you're happy, I'll do anything." His Adam's apple bobbed sharply as he turned to leave. I thought I saw something shimmering at the corner of his eye, a tear sliding down his cheek. "Don't go," I said, rushing forward to block his path. He turned his head quickly, trying to hide his face from me. Looking him directly in the eyes, I spoke clearly, slowly, and from the heart. "Leo, listen to me. I want to marry you, really marry you. This isn't a sham, and it's not about getting married just to get divorced. I want to marry you. It has nothing to do with anyone else. And I've never hated you, not once." That was all Mark's manipulation. The light returned to his eyes, sudden and blazing. He blinked rapidly, his breath catching in his throat. "Oh, okay, I get it now," he stammered. Then, after a beat, he added, "Of course, if you like someone else, then forget it. I'll wish you both the best." "There's no one else," I said firmly. "The only person I like is you." He shouted that last part before he could stop himself, then immediately turned beet red, like someone had branded his face with a hot iron. "It's getting late," he mumbled, flustered. "You should get some rest. I have to hurry back to my unit, but I'll come back on leave to marry you." "All right, I'll wait for you," I said, watching him walk away, his limbs moving out of sync like a boy trying to act casual and failing miserably. A quiet warmth bloomed in my chest. This time around, I hoped both of us would find happiness. Leo returned to his base, but he called me every single day. I never realized we had so much in common, so many shared interests and endless things to talk about. The wounds on my body and in my heart slowly began to heal under his steady, gentle care. The day finally came for me to report to the arts troupe. I was beyond excited, riding my old bike as fast as I could, but when I got there, an administrator told me I'd been removed from the list. The reason given was alleged cheating and voluntary withdrawal. I went to find the deputy director, and just as I arrived at his office, I saw Mark walking up, hand in hand with Diane. "Deputy," Mark said with a slick smile, "please take good care of our sweet Diane. If there's ever anything you need, just say the word." No problem," the deputy replied, a cigarette dangling from his lips as he lounged in his chair with his legs crossed. "Diane's a great talent. I could tell from the moment she walked in for her audition." He squinted at her, shamelessly eyeing her up and down with obvious intent. But the second he spotted me, his tone changed completely. He sat up straight and sneered. Well, if it isn't Miss Evans, the one who's too good for our humble little arts troupe. Weren't you headed to a post at the municipal government? What, are you slumming it with us now for fun?" He scoffed. "The mayor's daughter thinks she can cheat, pull strings, and treat us like fools. What kind of official behavior is this, huh? Let me tell you something, Miss High and Mighty. So long as I'm in charge here, you will never set foot in this troupe." I rushed forward to explain, but Mark yanked me out of the office by the arm. "What are you doing here? Didn't you already give your spot to Diane?" he snapped. "Get lost. You're not welcome here." I couldn't believe how shameless he had become. My face flushed with fury as I shoved him hard. "Mark Caldwell, when did I ever say I cheated or gave up my spot? I earned that place with my own effort. You know better than anyone how hard I've worked since I was a child, how much blood, sweat, and tears I've poured into dancing. You know how badly I wanted to become a performer in the arts troupe. Who gave you the right to make decisions for me? And then you pile on all these lies. I glared at him, my voice trembling with rage. Look at what you've become. You used to talk about being just and honorable, a man who could tell right from wrong. Now you're nothing but a despicable, shameless, low-life scumbag. Mark's face twitched, a flicker of guilt flashing across it, but he still clung to his twisted excuse. I owe her. I should have married her in the last life, not you. Without me, her life was miserable. She needs me. I pretended not to understand what he meant by last life, but he suddenly leaned in and whispered coldly, Don't act like you don't know. You were reborn too, weren't you? In our last life, I married you. I doted on you, took care of you and your precious Evans family until the end of my days. So what more do you want from me now, Clara Evans? You treated me like a servant, but in our last life, I already paid my debt in full. I owe you nothing. I owe your family nothing. So he was reborn too, but only with fragments of his memory. He had actually forgotten how he had caused the death of my entire family. While I was still stunned by this revelation, a sudden force shoved me hard from behind. I lost my balance and fell violently down the long staircase from the third floor. The last thing I saw before losing consciousness was Diane Carter's smug, gloating face. Go to hell, she sneered. My leg was broken, completely shattered. The doctor said that although it could be treated, I would probably never be able to dance again in this lifetime. Tears streamed down my cheeks. Just like that, my dream, a dream I had carried through 2 lives, was destroyed so easily. In my last life, I had made it into the arts troupe, but was constantly suppressed by the deputy director and never allowed to truly perform. Later, I became pregnant and was forced to leave the troupe altogether. Now, with despair crashing over me, I couldn't help but wonder if I would ever be free from the shadows of Mark Caldwell and Diane Carter. Was fate always this cruel, punishing only the kind-hearted while rewarding the wicked? My mother clutched my hand in the hospital room, sobbing uncontrollably. My father stood in the corner, his arms folded behind his back, letting out one heavy sigh after another. I didn't want to endure this anymore. I took a deep breath. It was Diane, I said, my voice firm. She pushed me. She did it on purpose. I want to press charges. My parents looked at me, first with shock, then with fury. They believed me, but we had no evidence. The only witness was Mark, and there was no way he would testify for me. Just then, Leo Maxwell burst into the room, drenched in sweat. Clara! Mr. and Mrs. Evans, don't worry. I'll go find proof right now. I hurriedly stopped him. No, don't go. There's no proof to find. Even so, I swore to myself that I would make them pay in blood. Leo's fists clenched tightly and he turned to storm out, but my parents grabbed his arm. You have to think about the bigger picture, Leo, my father said sternly. Oh, what did you learn in the military? That whenever something unjust happens, you should just fight and kill? Leo lowered his head in shame. I'm sorry, I just don't want Clara to suffer anymore. Honestly, there was a part of me that wanted Leo to take care of those 2 scumbags for good. But after spending time with him over the past few weeks, I had changed. I realized I had started to care about him genuinely, and I didn't want to lose the happiness I had finally found. So, I swallowed my anger for now. But someday, I would get it all back. Then, I remembered the way the deputy director had looked at Diane. Maybe I could use that. Leo didn't return to his unit. He filed for an extended leave and even requested a transfer. He stayed by my side constantly, determined not to let anything else happen to me. Under his attentive care, my injuries healed faster than expected. The day I was discharged from the hospital, the military called Leo back to his post. I'll return as soon as I can, he promised, his voice thick with emotion. Even 1 minute away from you feels like torture. Watching how reluctant he was to leave made my heart flutter. I reached out and wrapped my arms around his waist. He froze like a startled deer, then turned as red as a boiled lobster. Oh no, he muttered. Now I really don't want to leave. Comrade Evans, can I hold you just a little longer? I smacked him lightly on the arm with a grin. Later, I heard from my dad that Leo had made a major contribution in the field, and the military was planning to promote him. Looking up at the clear blue sky, I couldn't help but smile. Choosing Leo had made my days feel more and more full of hope. The wedding was only a week away. I received a phone call that put me in a fantastic mood. It was time to dig a deep pit. If I played my cards right, I might be able to destroy those two scumbags in one shot. I put on a stunning new designer outfit and had my nurse roll me in my wheelchair to the most prestigious tailor shop in the city. Just as I reached the entrance, I heard Diane's voice inside, chirping away. I couldn't help but scoff. How could Mark be interested in someone so cheap and petty? Mark, she purred. I just love these wedding outfits so much. I know we're skipping the banquet out of respect for Clara's family, but I really want to wear these for you, just once. The old tailor looked nervous. Miss, I'm afraid that's not possible. These were custom made a month ago for Mayor Evans' daughter. They're one of a kind. We can't sell them. Mark slammed his hand on the table. You know who I am, right? If it belongs to Clara Evans, it's mine. Pack it up. And those other sets Diane liked, wrap them all up too. Put it on Clara's tab. The tailor adjusted his glasses and looked at the two of them, tangled up like syrup, a frown on his face. I rolled myself into the shop and let out a cold laugh. Mark Caldwell, if you like my wedding outfits so much, why don't you just wear them yourself? Now take your filthy hands off them. Mark's brows twitched the moment he saw me in the wheelchair. He turned to Diane and muttered, How did she fall that badly? It was just one floor? What's with all the drama? And just like that, he became even more arrogant. Clara Evans, you've made trouble for Diane over and over again. Consider these outfits a peace offering. I'm not marrying you anyway, so you won't need them. Diane giggled as she traced circles on his chest with her finger. But Clara's outfit is really pretty too. I love it. If you're making peace, can I have that one as well, sis? I shot them both a glare. Two dung beetles in masks. Disgusting. It doesn't matter how fancy the covers are. Trash is still trash. Diane immediately covered her face and began to sob dramatically. Boo-hoo! I knew it. Miss Evans looks down on us working-class folks. I guess we're not good enough to wear fancy clothes like these. Then, with a fake sob, she plopped herself on the floor and pointed at me. Oh, Clara, why did you push me again? My foot still hasn't healed from last time. It really hurts. Mark's expression turned to ice. Whether you give them up or not, I'm taking them. Otherwise, I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what you and your precious father really are. The moment he brought up my dad, my heart clenched. In my last life, he and Diane had framed my father for indecency, which had gotten him dismissed, denounced, and thrown in prison. What are you trying to do? I asked, my voice low. What am I doing? Mark sneered. Let's talk about how your dad died. Let's talk about how he became mayor. What gave your family the right to live such a good life? Shut up, I snapped. My father is the most honorable man I know. He sponsored your education, got you into school, and helped you find work. You're just a heartless ingrate, a thankless wolf who bit the hand that fed him. A thankless wolf? He scoffed. All that kindness from your family was just a way to brainwash me, to make me think you were good people. If it weren't for Diane, I wouldn't have seen through it. But now I have... He leaned in closer, his voice low and venomous. Just wait. You and your whole family are going to pay in blood. With that, he ripped the clothes I was wearing off me, leaving me in my underthings, and threw my body from the wheelchair into the muddy street. Then he strutted off like a king. Before leaving, Diane turned to the growing crowd of bystanders and shouted, Mayor Evans's daughter has no shame. Mark is mine now. We're getting married soon. You could strip naked in front of him and he still wouldn't look at you. I lay in the mud wearing nothing but a thin tank top and slip, while a crowd of strangers surrounded me, whispering and pointing. Is that really Mayor Evans' daughter? She's so pretty. Why would she lower herself to being a side piece? Did you hear? That honest, righteous Mayor Evans got to his position by stepping on corpses. His daughter must be just like him. She stole another girl's spot just to chase a man, then had her sent to the countryside. No wonder she broke her leg. Serves her right. Everyone had something to say, one voice after another, dripping with contempt. Their words hit me harder than slaps. I had never known public opinion could be this terrifying. No one believed me. I couldn't explain, couldn't defend myself. All I could do was curl up tightly, my arms wrapped around my body, as tears dripped silently onto the cold pavement. But the more I stayed silent, the more furious the crowd became. Someone even threw a rock at me. Let them rage. The louder the storm, the better. I needed this. I needed to vent every ounce of my pain and hatred. Suddenly, a warm weight fell over me. A military coat, thick and broad, wrapped me from head to toe. Leo Maxwell had come back earlier than I expected. He held my battered body close and shouted at the crowd, his voice booming with authority. Spreading rumors and inciting chaos are crimes. Anyone who keeps talking nonsense, I will arrest you on the spot. The moment people heard the word arrest, their tone changed. Panic set in. Then prove she's innocent. Yeah, why don't people say these things about others? We're not lying. It was those two who said it first. Leo raised his hand calmly. Then no one leaves. You all want the truth, right? Fine. Today I'll give you the truth. He gently placed me back in my wheelchair, his eyes full of heartache. Clara, I'm sorry I got here late. You've suffered so much because of me, but I promise this time I'll make things right. I bit my lower lip. Too bad our wedding outfits were taken. He reached out with his long, calloused fingers and gently wiped away my tears. I remember when you were little, you said your biggest dream was to become a military wife and take your wedding photos in your uniform. I was stunned. A ripple of warmth spread through my heart. He still remembered the wish I had made when I was 5 years old. Could it be? Had he joined the army because of me? It was like he could see straight through me. His eyes were filled with a deep tenderness. Yes, I joined the army for you. I worked hard and earned my merit so you'd see how far I've come. I lowered my head, my face burning red. And I have good news too, he said with a smile. Our Special Operations Unit just completed a major mission. We captured a group of enemy agents. I was awarded a Class 2 merit, and the command approved my promotion to a regiment-level officer. They've also approved my transfer so I can work here in the city. Clara, from now on, I'll be your personal guard. You'll never have to be scared again. Then, with a mischievous gleam in his eye, he pulled something out of his bag. Look what this is. Special approval from the unit. It's for Comrade Clara Evans, military spouse, to wear at her wedding. Do you like it? Through my tears, I laughed and nodded hard. It's beautiful. Just then, 2 officers escorted Mark and Diane toward us. Leo pointed at them. They're the ones spreading lies and causing trouble. The crowd murmured in agreement. Yes, it was them. Mark squirmed and struggled. What do you think you're doing? You think being a soldier gives you the right to arrest people? Diane clutched her belly and whined, Be careful, I'm pregnant. Don't hurt our baby. When Mark saw it was Leo, he relaxed slightly. Leo, it's you. This is all a misunderstanding. Come on, let us go. Leo let out a cold laugh. Don't act so familiar with me. Let me ask you, did you or did you not steal this comrade's wedding dress? Did you or did you not tear it off her and throw her in the street? Mark glanced at me, clearly rattled, but Diane grabbed his arm and cut him off, tears welling in her eyes. That's not how it happened, comrade. He gave them to me voluntarily. He took the clothes off himself. He admitted he wronged me in the past and apologized, so I reluctantly accepted. My God, she was twisting everything. I should have never held back. Boo-hooing, she played the victim while flipping the truth completely inside out. The crowd grew angrier. Unbelievable! Of course it's true. That Evans girl is disgusting. How could Mayor Evans raise such a daughter? Probably rotten to the core. I heard she stole another girl's spot to get a man and got her sent to the countryside. No wonder her leg's broken. She deserved it. I looked at the smug faces of Diane and Mark and felt nothing but icy despair. I signaled the old tailor with a glance. He stepped forward, shouting, You're all wrong. It was Mark Caldwell who caused all this. He's been putting purchases under Miss Evans' name for years, always claiming it's for her or for Mayor Evans' office. He's taken plenty from us merchants along this street. We can all testify. He pointed an accusing finger. Now he's getting married to another woman and still wants Miss Evans to pay for everything. When she refused, they humiliated her in my shop, stripped her of her clothes, and threw her onto the street. I couldn't stop them. Miss Evans, I'm sorry I failed to protect you. Right after that, shopkeepers all along the street came forward, speaking up for me one by one. The crowd finally realized the truth. Fingers pointed at Mark and Diane as curses flew. What the hell is wrong with you two? You stole from Miss Evans, used her father's name, and now you're pulling this crap? Shameless bastards. You lied, flipped the story, and made fools of us. You used us to bully her. We're sorry, Miss Evans. We were too stupid. We apologize. Miss Evans, please forgive us. Under the weight of public scorn, Mark and Diane had no choice but to bow their heads and apologize to me. They tossed the stolen clothes onto my lap and tried to leave. Wait, Leo called out, his voice calm but sharp. What about the compensation? How much did you get from Miss Evans? Someone in the crowd shouted. Aren't you going to pay her back? The crowd raised their fists and echoed, That's right, you have to pay. Mark Caldwell licked his dry lips and muttered, Who remembers all that? I've only got 200 wen on me. Take it or leave it. Wait a second, said the old tailor. We've kept records. He and the other shopkeepers began tallying up the figures on their abacuses. Within minutes, they had the total 5,000 yuan. Mark and Diane emptied their pockets and scraped together just 250. They were forced to write an IOU. Leo handed them a pen and paper. Mark, realizing there was no way to weasel out of it, tried one last time to bargain. Leo, come on, why are you making such a big deal out of this? We don't need to make things this ugly. But Leo took a step back, his expression stern. Mark Caldwell, you didn't just violate social ethics. You incited trouble, harassed a woman, disrupted public order, and committed robbery in broad daylight. On top of that, you slandered Mayor Evans. As for this woman, he glanced coldly at Diane, she deliberately stirred up public resentment against the government and the people. Both of you have committed serious crimes against the nation and its citizens. You owe this crowd an explanation. You owe Miss Evans and Mayor Evans an explanation. Take them away. I was deeply satisfied. Everything had gone exactly as I had planned. What I didn't expect, though I later learned the full story, was that Mark, selfish as he was, would actually take all the blame just to protect Diane. I pieced together what happened next from police reports and from Mark's mother, who came to see my parents in a state of utter despair. For a full week, Mark sat in a cold, damp detention room. Time dragged on like an endless abyss, every minute a knife carving through his skin. There was no sunlight, no freedom, just darkness and loneliness. He couldn't understand how he had ended up like this. Once, he was the golden boy, the pride of the city, known as the son of a martyr and Mayor Evans' future son-in-law. His path had been bathed in light, and I, so beautiful and devoted, had loved him with my whole heart. All the men in his circle had envied him. How had he fallen so far, disgraced and abandoned? While he was lost in these thoughts, the iron door creaked open. A police officer stepped in and announced his release. Mark was in disbelief. Charges like disturbing public order, assault, and slander could easily ruin a man's life. He lit up instantly. It had to be me. I must have forgiven him. Of course I had. I loved him. I always had. How could I ever bear to see him suffer? He remembered all the times I had pretended to be annoyed, but had always saved the best things for him. That's how it had been our whole lives, in the last life and again in this one. Sure, he now had a child on the way with Diane, but when his emotions ran deepest, the only face that ever appeared in his mind was mine, serene and irreplaceable. He realized then that I was the only person he had ever truly loved. Everything with Diane had been about pride, about proving he could make it on his own. He decided he needed to see me right away to make things right. But the person who greeted him at the gates wasn't me, it was his mother. "What are you doing here?" he asked, and she responded with 2 sharp slaps across his face. "You ungrateful bastard!" she screamed. "I don't have a son like you. You're just like that no-good father of yours, rotten to the core." She collapsed, sobbing, and when Mark tried to defend his father's memory as a hero, She finally told him the truth she had hidden his entire life. "That's just a story your Uncle Evans made up to comfort you," she cried, her voice filled with hatred. "Your father was a rapist. He forced himself on me in a cornfield, and I had no choice but to marry him because I was pregnant with you. He was a criminal who leeched off his friendship with my brother, your Uncle Evans, cheating everyone around him. My brother tried to help him, but your father turned on him, pushed him off a cliff. They both went down. It was Leo's father who pulled my brother to safety, but when he went to save your dad, that bastard stepped on him, used his body to climb up. In the end, they both fell to their deaths. A good man died because of your father." She told him how my father had covered it all up, giving them his own salary and telling Mark it was compensation for a martyr's child. "Do you deserve it?" she had shrieked. "After what you've done, how are you any different from him?" Mark stumbled away, the whispers of the public following him like ghosts. He made his way to the small rental apartment he'd gotten for Diane, expecting to find his delicate lover. Instead, he found her in bed with the deputy director from the arts troupe. He heard them talking. "What baby?" Diane had laughed. "I made that up. That idiot believed anything I said. No way am I taking care of his old mother either. But I am going to take every last cent I can get." Then she had giggled. "Oh, and just between us, I've got a little secret. I've been reborn too. Last time, I convinced him the Evans family was evil. He destroyed them for me. Crippled Clara, broke her arms and legs, even ripped their baby out of her body to cook for me as a nourishing soup." She licked her lips at the memory. "I thought he loved me like no one else. But even in this life, he'd cry out her name in bed. Disgusting. But it doesn't matter. He's never going back to her." Today's her wedding. She's marrying Leo Maxwell. A flood of memories, the ones he'd been missing, surged back into Mark's mind. The full, monstrous truth of what he had done in our past life hit him all at once. Rage pounded through his veins. Without thinking, he grabbed a sickle from the floor and charged into the bedroom. When he snapped out of it, the bed was soaked in blood. The lovers had been hacked into unrecognizable pieces. Mark calmly walked into the bathroom, washed himself clean, and used the blood-streaked sickle to shave his face. He had to look presentable for me. Outside, drums pounded. The wedding celebration was in full swing. Family and friends were smiling and laughing, but for some reason, I couldn't relax. My heart kept racing, and my eyelids twitched uncontrollably. Something felt terribly off. Then the door to my room creaked open. I turned and froze. It was Mark. His bloodshot eyes stared straight at me, a blood-stained sickle held loosely in his hand. "They said this military uniform looks good on you," he murmured. "Even better than the red wedding robe we wore." "I'm sorry, Clara. I just remembered what I did in our past life. I was stupid. I shouldn't have believed anyone else. Come with me." "Let's start over. I know you still love me. There's no way you'd fall for a brute like Leo. You only chose him because he avenged you, right?" "Well, I've killed for you too. Diane Carter is dead. No one is standing in our way anymore." My heart sank. I grabbed the scissors from the nightstand and pointed them at him. "Get out. Don't come near me." He didn't flinch. He walked right up to the blade and pressed his hand onto it, slicing through the skin without hesitation. Terrified, I dropped the scissors. He seized the moment to pull me into his arms, pressing his lips against my ear. "Let's run away, Clara. Just you and me, somewhere no one knows us. We'll start fresh. We'll have so many children. We'll be the happiest people in the world. I love you, Clara. Do you know how much I love you?" "Let me go!" I struggled with everything I had, but he only tightened his grip. "You smell so good. If you want our wedding night right here, I'm fine with that." "You're insane. This is rape, Mark. Don't make me regret signing the leniency petition your mother begged for." "None of that matters anymore. Nothing matters. I only want you, Clara. I love you. I love you so much." He pinned me down on the bed, his face twisted with obsession. "I love you. I want you." Just as I was about to scream in despair, there was a loud crack. Twice. Mark howled like an animal. Leo had shattered both of his arms. He moved like a beast, his fists pounding into Mark's body with merciless fury. And suddenly, something unlocked inside me, an old memory, long buried. Years ago, I'd been drugged and kidnapped by traffickers. Through the haze, I saw a figure, just like this one, furious and fearless, beating the captors to a pulp. I never remembered what happened afterward. Mark had always claimed he was the one who had saved me, so I had felt indebted to him. But now I knew. It had been Leo all along. He had been silently protecting me for years, and I never even realized it. At that moment, police officers burst in. "What's going on here? Who is Mark Caldwell?" I immediately pointed to the man lying bloodied and beaten on the floor. "It's him. He just tried to rape me. My husband saved me. Officer, please help us." One of the officers stepped forward. "Mark Caldwell, you are under arrest for the murder of 2 individuals and attempted rape. Come with us." Leo rushed to my side and wrapped his arms tightly around me, his voice trembling. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I didn't protect you in time." I buried my face in his neck. "No, you got here. You came for me, Leo. Thank God you came. I don't even know how to thank you." "Then give me your heart," he whispered. "Clara, I want you to fall in love with me. I've dreamed of that day." He looked into my eyes with such intensity, so much love brimming in his gaze that my own eyes stung with tears. I couldn't stop myself. I leaned in and gently kissed his lips. The wedding took place as planned, surrounded by blessings and smiling faces. Leo and I were officially married. That night, however, I locked him out of the bedroom in the courtyard. I folded my arms and demanded an explanation. "Why do people say you have messy relationships with women, that you hit them?" Leo looked like he was about to cry. "It's not what it sounds like. We were on a special undercover mission. The organization made us pose as couples to investigate enemy spies. A few of my male teammates had to cross-dress as women, but once they got into costume, they kept trying to kiss me. I thought it was disgusting, so I beat the crap out of them." "Comrade leader," he pleaded dramatically, "I'm innocent. Please let me in. I don't want to sleep alone on our wedding night." I couldn't help it. I burst out laughing. But before I could even reach for the door, he had swooped me into his arms. "Thanks for trusting me, leader," he whispered. "And here's more good news. The military hospital in the capital says your leg can fully recover. We'll head there for treatment in a few days. And I already spoke with the head of the arts troupe. He said your placement has always been held open for you. You can return whenever you're ready." Overwhelmed with joy, I kissed Leo again and again, which completely set him off. The night was long and tender. Inside the house, the air was thick with warmth, love, and endless happiness. Months passed before I heard anything about Mark Caldwell again. Right before his execution, he requested to see me one last time. Of course, I didn't go. After he was executed, someone brought me a letter he had left behind. "If there's another life, I swear I'll love only you, trust only you. When I'm reborn, I'll come back to be with you and only you." I rolled my eyes and tossed the letter straight into the trash. Unfortunately, Leo saw it. He was furious with jealousy, like 1,000 vinegar jars exploding at once. And for the next 60-some years of our happy, silver-haired marriage, no matter how old we got, he would make me promise, over and over again, "In every lifetime, in every world, you'll love only me.